What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm making this video for one primary purpose, although I'm going to talk about two different things. The main purpose of this video is going to be getting a little bit more into the decision to release Curtis Weaver, one of their 5th round draft picks, edge rusher. There's an article written in Sports Illustrated from Alan Pupar, and I want to go through that. Before I do, though, the other thing I want to talk about just briefly is the Tua situation. So, in the early parts of training camp, and especially, with some of the comments that, like, Brian Flores in particular made about how, Tua, he's had some good days and some bad days, some good decisions, bad decisions, whatever, blah, 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 right? So everybody, and all the media was saying, he's doing all right, but he's having some early struggles, which is to be expected. He's a rookie, all that, so on and so forth. Well, going into this new week of training camp, the reports now that I'm starting to see are that he's like light years, they didn't use this word, but he's like way ahead of where he was before, and his everything about him is increased, his decision, his arm strength, all this, that, and the other. And the reason why I bring that up is because it's similar to the over-the-top praise about his physical recovery from the hip surgery. And look, I'm not saying that, and I've never said that he's not where he says he is or the doctors say he is in his recovery. What I've said is that I'm always cautious about when people are like really over the top with it, saying it's like miraculous and he's way ahead of schedule and, blah, 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 all these things, right? Those things give me pause because I have seen people get way overconfident in things. Even, I love Ryan Tannehill. You guys all know that. And I think they were stupid to get rid of him. But even in the case with him, and his one injury, because he's not injury prone, he's literally had just one injury that has prevented him from playing any football, and it was something he couldn't control, etc. Anyway, they rushed him back. They thought they were doing all right. It was not, look, I didn't hate I still don't hate the decision, because they thought that they could do it, just give him enough rest. They thought that they had enough time, and with the stem cells, etc., it proved not to be a smart decision because he ended up having a pretty major setback. But that situation is just another data point that has gotten me to learn from those past mistakes. Do absolutely everything necessary, and go, if you're going to go above and beyond with something, don't go above and beyond with, the push to get him back, or whatever. Go above and beyond in the side of erring on the side of caution, right? Like, do that, right? Do extra to be cautious. What I would do is make sure that he redshirts for the entire first season, no matter what. Anyway, point is with all of that is that I don't want to see them end up like, over the next week and a half, 2 weeks of training camp, there's just like all these glowing reports all of a sudden. Now it's just one day of practice, but all of a sudden, all these glowing reports, next thing you know, he's the starter in week 1 behind an offensive line that's at the very least not ready. I mean, you can argue whether they're eventually going to be good enough or not. But, arguably not, at the very least, not going to be ready for the start of the season and where they should be. And so it could be a disaster. I don't want to see any of that happen. Anyway, that's that. Let's go ahead and get into this article, because there's definitely plenty to talk about here. And we already kind of discussed it a little bit in my previous video that I made about this. Anyway, breaking down the Weaver move. So this is what Alan Pupar has to say. The decision to waive rookie 5th round pick Curtis Weaver with an injury designation caught a lot of attention in South Florida, but what it means has been misrepresented, he says. Excuse me. Well, I think that depends on who you talk to and what their opinions are on the matter. Because I think I kind of, summed it up pretty nicely. But anyway, in short, the Dolphins basically decided Weaver simply wasn't worth keeping around. Real quick, so this is kind of what I was getting to, right? are part of what I was getting to. I went through a couple different scenarios, right? So when I first talked about this, so I talked about, how it decreases the quality of this draft class and also hurts their, is yet another player on their massive list of not being able to properly evaluate. Because what he's getting to in this article is that the Dolphins, after just a couple weeks of training camp into his rookie season, when the offseason is completely fucked to begin with, they decided he wasn't good enough. Really? Really? So you're that great at just knowing if they're good enough after 2 weeks? Well, your fucking history so far wouldn't prove that at all. You constantly are changing your team. What do you mean? So you're constantly bringing in guys like, oh, this is my guy. I like him. We're bringing him in. No, he's not. What do you mean? You're like indecisive at best, right? Like it's ridiculous. Anyway, how could you have gotten the kind of evaluation you need to off of this guy? Anyway, whatever. Like it's absurd. So, but it just goes to show that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know how to do their job properly, and they can't fucking build a team to save their fucking life. Like I said, hear me now, quote me later. If there's a full season, or if there's even a partial season, whatever football the Dolphins play, it's going to be trash. This team is going to be trash. They just are. To be fair, it's not set in stone yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But when we get to football, if we get to football, live football with real games, I'll be doing a live stream for that first game. They're going to kick our ass. The Patriots will. They're going to. Even if they have been the most hurt team by opt-outs and lost a ton of really good players, I guarantee they're going to mop the fucking floor with us. Because this team is going to be trash for like every possible reason that you can think of. The fucked up offseason, young inexperienced team, new coaching staff, new and almost entirely new roster, hurting in the department of leadership and production and all those different things, new playbooks, injury prone players, tons of them, tons of players that you could arguably say are reaches or overpaid, etc., etc. Almost the entire squad is nothing but like backups and fucking practice squad guys and undrafted free agents. Like they're trying to find an entire team worth of gems from a fucking trash heap. Like, it doesn't make... Anyway, whatever. Let's get to the fucking article. Because I have plenty more to say. Let's see. Weaver sustained an injury during practice Saturday. And, just real quick. So I did go through a couple different scenarios, right? Okay, well, they waived him. If somebody else claims him and he gets healthy and he's a superstar, then that is wonderful for him, but it's still a negative on the Dolphins draft class, right? Or if, he doesn't good, whatever. If he leaves the team, it hurts the Dolphins draft class regardless of what kind of career he ends up having. If he ends up having a good career away from the Dolphins, then it looks, worse on us. Well, I mean, honestly, it depends. Because if his career ends with injury, then why did we pick him in the first place, right? And then you could say maybe it was smarter to get rid of him. But why'd you pick him in the fucking first place? Anyway, whatever. There's a lot of... It depends on the situation, and it's all very nuanced. But part of what I was getting to, and part of what I've been saying the whole time, is that they suck at player evaluation. So they are admitting here that, he's just not good enough. Anyway, whatever, dude. Let's continue on. Weaver sustained an injury during practice. Two options, and they had two options based on the NFL rules depending on the severity of the injury. And so, and I was getting to this when, or I was, kind of alluding to this in the previous video when I was saying, look, I mean, why did they waive him? They didn't have to waive him. They could have just put him on injured reserve, right? If the injury was deemed major, the Dolphins simply could have put Weaver directly on injured reserve without having to expose him to waivers where any other team can claim him. That exactly what the Cleveland Browns have done, according to the NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. The Browns have claimed rookie pass rusher Curtis Weaver off of waivers from the Dolphins. So there you go. So they have now done that with two players from their first two drafts. Isaiah Prince, a tackle from last year's draft, they waived him and got picked up by the Bengals. Same thing with Curtis Weaver. And he's a pass rusher. The two areas we need the most. So first of all, I mean, look, I was never huge on those players to begin with. I thought their evaluation with those guys, I thought they were reaches, etc. But they are admitting it by cutting the guy. But either way you slice it, their draft class is like degrading in quality. Because one, he's just not here anymore. So there's that. But even if he was, and he proves to be, you know, I mean, whatever, dude. Like, it's just, I'm sorry. I just got so many things going on in my head right now. So many different points. I'm trying to keep it all together. But it's just so frustrating because, like, I don't understand how people can look at what the Dolphins are doing and be like, yeah, these guys have got it, man. They got a fucking plan going. Dude, the draft class from last year, they're overall was trash. Isaiah Prince is not on the fucking team anymore. Christian Wilkins was underwhelming at best. Oh, he had, you know, he led the league in rookie defensive tackles. Okay, but he didn't stop shit at the fucking at the line of scrimmage or behind it, as we know, because we didn't have any pass rush and our run game was garbage. And so all that proves is that he was catching up to the ball carrier after they've broken through the line to clean up and make the tackle downfield. Okay, good hustle, but that's about it. Anyway, Michael Dieter was trash, etc., etc. You can go down the line, bro. Like, it's not very impressive. And this year's draft is already degrading in massive ways, right? Curtis Weaver, Noah Igbenogene got hurt already, and I think he's a reach. Like, it's just a fucking shit show, and I can't understand how people think that this is like the right formula. If the injury was deemed minor, defined by an absence of 6 weeks or less, then the Dolphins would have had the option of keeping Weaver on the active roster until he was healthy, or waiting until the cut down to 53 to then place him on IR, or take the route they chose with the waived injured designation. So they didn't need to do this at all. Right? They could have kept him around. They chose not to because they said, oh, well, this is another guy that we brought in that we're giving up on. Even though, in this case, even though I think that he was, you know, I would have done their draft way differently. Way differently. They didn't give the dude a chance. They gave him 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. Again, if the Dolphins thought Weaver was a good prospect who could help them down the road, this is not the path they would have chosen. But what? You picked him! And then 2 weeks later into training camp, you decide he's not... He's a 5th round pick! It's so frustrating. With the injury designation, Weaver will revert to the injured reserve if he clears waivers, and he'll stay on that list unless he can get a physical or gets an injury settlement. Either way, he won't be playing for the Miami Dolphins unless they decide to re-sign him at some point in the future. But I mean... they can't though, so I don't know if this part was like written before this tweet by Tom Pelissero that the Browns have claimed rookie pass rusher Curtis Weaver off waivers from the Dolphins, or what? Because the tweet was earlier in the article, obviously, but I don't know. He's not on the. I mean, unless that's, you know, not true or whatever. But if he anyway, whatever. It's just, it's crazy, bro. Either way, this move was noteworthy because Weaver was seen by some draft analysts as a potential steal as a 5th round selection, and maybe he could have been. But there was a reason he was selected in the 5th round despite putting up great sack numbers at Boise State, and that reason was that he simply didn't possess any one outstanding physical trait. But they picked him. But they picked him. But they picked him. And they decided to wait until like fucking round 5 to get fucking pass rushers. Because what did they do? They took Tua with the 1st overall pick, which, as you guys know, I don't agree with. Because I think, all in all, it's not worth it. Because I think his injury history is going to prove a major issue for the Dolphins. But okay, You supposedly get your franchise guy. Then they take an offensive lineman, Austin Jackson, who I wouldn't have taken him at all. There were definitely better prospects. In fact, I would have taken with our first 2 picks in the first round, the top 2 offensive linemen. That's what I would have done. Then they take Noah Igbenegine when we have 2 of the top 3 highest paid corners already on the roster, when they could have taken the top safety in the draft. So they double down at a position we don't really need help at to ignore a position we really need help at. Then they could have taken J.K. Dobbins, the top running back, in the, I think, or what, was it Dobbins? Yeah, I think it was Dobbins. But there were tons of options. Dobbins, Swift, a bunch of guys that were there they could have taken with their first, second round pick. And then they could have gotten a pass rusher with their second round pick instead of waiting until round 5. Okay. But they fucking picked him. It was their evaluation, and now he's gone. Weaver set the Mountain West Conference career record for sacks despite playing only 3 seasons at Boise State. But there were concerns whether he could achieve that kind of success at the NFL level. And that's perfectly understandable. But they made the evaluation he was worth taking at pick number 5. Because they had a treasure trove of fucking picks to use. And so, if he's not, whatever, it's a 5th round pick. But you gave him 2 weeks of the training camp. What the fuck? Dude, people need to wake up that this organization has no idea what the fuck that they are doing. No idea. They are garbage at evaluating. Okay, like it's ridiculous. Again, there was a reason he was a 5th round pick. This is what NFL.com's Lance Zierlein wrote about Weaver before the 2020 draft. Stand-up end whose production as a pass rusher must be balanced out by his below-average ability and athleticism in stopping the run. Weaver is a naturally instinctive counter rusher who uses synchronized hands and feet to attack both inside and outside edges as a rusher, but his lack of explosiveness and athletic traits could dull his rush production against NFL offensive tackles. He plays with football intelligence, but his level of NFL success could be determined by whether his skill can overcome below average explosiveness. But look, he can also improve and get better, and they can train him at certain things, right? Like, you gave him 2 weeks! Weaver was given a grade of 5.99, which translated to backup special teamer. Okay, whatever. I mean, but that's not even terrible for a 5th round pick, though. Anyway, and again, it was their evaluation, their pick, and they gave him 2 weeks. While there was a lot of hope that Weaver could become a dynamic pass rusher in the NFL, head coach Brian Flores was very cautious in his assessment when he was asked about him and fellow 5th round pick Jason Strourbridge after the draft. Yes, Strourbridge is an outside-inside player. He lines up outside in some situations, inside in some other situations. Good strength, good quickness. There's a lot to like about him. He played multiple positions, is versatile, tough. Weaver is a good pass rusher, or showed that over the course of his college career. Hopefully that translates. I think he has got to do a better job in a lot of areas, but so does Strourbridge, and so does every one of these rookies. So you're just going to start cutting them all because they couldn't fucking meet your standards after 2 weeks? They all have to improve. They all have a long way to go. There's definitely some things that we really liked out of Weaver from a pass rush standpoint. Obviously not. Hopefully we continue to develop those as well as every other part of his game. We like both guys. We like most of the guys we picked. In the first week of padded practices, Weaver didn't show much explosiveness off the line or the ability to disengage from opposing offensive linemen because he's a fucking rookie. And he's had 2 weeks of fucking training camp. And I'm so tired of people's stupidity. I really am. The level, the lack of intelligence and logic in the world is just fucking mind-blowing, and it frustrates me to no end. And it became clear pretty early he might have a hard time just making the 53-man roster. But he was your 5th round pick this year. Give him the fucking chance to... I can't stand these motherfuckers. Head coach Brian Flores explained the decision to waive injured Weaver on Tuesday morning. A lot goes in, this statement is ridiculous in so many ways. A lot goes into these decisions. The injury itself, okay, we're going to take these individually. The injury itself, even as Pupar explains in this article, even if it's as worse, like as bad as, you know, if it's a longer term injury, right? Now, from the reports, it's a toe or a foot injury that's going to require surgery, and he's likely to be out the entire season. Okay, so put him on injured reserve. He was one of your 5th round picks this year, and at a position you desperately need help at. Put him on injured reserve if it's the injury. Player performance, but he's a fucking rookie, bro. 2 weeks in. It's same thing like last season, right? With the offensive line. Or the coach, rather. Right? A couple weeks, 2 weeks into training camp, he fires his offensive line coach because the offensive line coach would not put Michael Dieter and Shaq Calhoun into the game. Okay? Fires his offensive line coach. What happens when we get to the regular season? Okay, Shaq Calhoun and Michael Dieter go in. Shaq Calhoun actually starts playing pretty well and proves to be one of your better offensive linemen on a trash offensive line. And so he gets removed from the game very frequently and constantly put on the fucking inactives list. Okay, but you fired your offensive line coach because you wouldn't put him in. But Michael Dieter proves to be absolute hot garbage and you leave him in the entire season. And then people are like, the coaches did not intentionally put the team in position to lose. Are you fucking kidding me? What? Okay. I guess you just live in a different fucking world than I do. Your reality is totally fucking different than the one that I see right in front of my face. So player performance. 2 weeks, bro. You gave him 2 fucking weeks. 2 fucking weeks. Salary cap. Okay, what? What do you mean salary cap? First of all, you cleared your entire fucking team last year to give yourself the most cap. Now, to be fair, they did blow through it, but that's your own fucking fault for overpaying fucking veterans in the offseason that are not going to prove to be as good as you think they are. So that's your fucking fault if you happen to be tight on fucking cap space. But he's a fucking rookie and a 5th round pick. How expensive could he be? Injury, part of that, bullshit. Player performance, bullshit. Salary cap, bullshit. Depth at the position, it's one of the most open positions on your fucking squad. You don't have a pass rush to save your fucking life right now. Bullshit. Next year's draft, that was his last reason. What do you mean? Look, I agree that all of these are factors in an equation when deciding to keep a player. I'm not saying that. They 100% are, and they're all relevant factors. But they're all bullshit in this circumstance and in this context. The injury. He's a fucking rookie. You could have just placed him on IR. He's not going to be expensive because he's a rookie and a 5th round pick. So salary cap, bullshit. And again, you put yourself into that fucking situation, but it shouldn't matter because he should be so fucking cheap. Player performance, you gave him 2 weeks. He hasn't even fucking played in a game. There's no preseason. Depth of the position, again, like, you need pass rushers. And then next year's draft, what do you mean? What? Next year's draft? Why are you thinking about next year's draft? Bro, you've sucked at your first 2 so far. Why are you fucking thinking about the 3rd one when you need to get the first 2 on like a respectable level? What is wrong with you? Total bullshit. Let's continue. Those conversations happen with myself, Chris Greer, General Manager, VP of Football Admin, Brandon Short, and the coaching staff. He's waived. He could get claimed. It's a small percentage of players who do get claimed in this situation. We'll see if we get him back. A draft pick not making the initial 53 roster actually is very uncommon. Very uncommon. Since 2010, the only Dolphins draft picks other than 7th rounders to be waived before the start of the regular season were 5th round pick Cedric Thompson in 2015 and 6th round pick BJ Cunningham in 2012. All 6 2019 Dolphins draft picks made the opening day roster, though 6th round selection Isaiah Prince was waived during the season. I mean, who think, like, it's just, it's, all right, bro, because, you know, I mean, I've been saying it all this fucking time. People don't ever fucking listen. People just got to learn the fucking hard way. So whatever, dude, go for it. You know, if people want to stay sold on this fucking Dolphins team and this, and it's not the players themselves, right? They're getting put into this position by the ownership and by the coaching staff and by the front office, etc., right? They had the least, you know, responsibility in why the team sucks and why they're not going in the right direction, you know? So it's just, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, and so Tom Pelissero, just real quick, I am seeing that the Browns did pick him up. So, you know, it's done. He's officially now on the Browns. I mean, he was, oh my God, 2 weeks into training camp, they cut him, and now he's on another fucking team. Who thinks that they know what they're doing? It's mind fucking boggling to me. All right, I'm going to go because this video is almost going to be a half an hour now, and I have just fucking, I can't deal with people anymore, bro. Like, I'm just so tired. Like I said, I'm just so tired of the level of stupidity, the lack of intelligence, the lack of logic that just runs rampant in every aspect of human life and society. It's just, it leaves me speechless, man, and fucking mind blown. Anyway, I'm getting out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my perspective. Almost nobody does, so it is what it is. But if you do, hit the, you know, subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell if you want to get the alerts for videos. Share my channel and videos with friends and family. You know, leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.